I asked you guys if I should stop using a VTuber model for my tutorials, and you guys said yes, stop using it. So I'm just never gonna use this guy ever again, even though I worked really hard on making it, but it's fine. We're gonna continue without it. Anyways, someone in the comments says a VTuber model doesn't really make sense for tutorial, and I should just be using it for other videos that are not tutorials. So that's what I'll be doing. I'll just be using my VTuber model if it's not a tutorial. And I definitely know you guys watch my non-tutorial videos. Alright, I'm going to be showing how you can make your interior builds realistic. For example, this is one of my builds. And I'll be covering proper lighting, where to get good assets, and essentially just everything to make your interior builds look really nice, like this. Alright, opening up a base plate, an empty base plate. First, we're going to actually need our assets, so like our realistic interior assets. So what I'm going to just do is, there's two ways of getting realistic assets, just getting it from the toolbox or outside of Roblox Studio and from a website. So let's just look up interior mesh pack. Always putting like pack at the ends always gives you something. So like here's this mega interior mesh pack, and you can use all of these. I did use this, you can see over here, I used this part for the intro. So keep searching in the toolbox, realistic pack, realistic furniture, furniture pack, just anything like that. So basically just go to the toolbox, look at everything, see what you like, and then just get rid of the other parts that you don't like, and you just keep doing that over and over and over, and then you'll get assets that look realistic that you can use for your build. So you compile everything that you like and you can put it into one build. As you can see, I got all of these stuff from the toolbox. I got what I liked, and then I dragged each piece in next to each other. So here's like a rough idea of how I'm going to make my build. Let's now actually make the build and then use what we just got from the toolbox. So I'll just be doing the walls, the roof, the windows, and then putting the furniture we got from the toolbox in. So enjoy the speed build. One important thing when making interior builds is to know where your light is coming from. So for example, here I made a window and I wanted some of the light to be touching the couch. So like half the couch would have light on it and the other half wouldn't, with these lines coming through. So that's what I did here. Something like this is important for interior builds. You want to have light parts and dark parts because it just adds contrast and makes your build look better. So with that, I decided to add some light at the back because it seemed pretty empty there. So I was like, okay, how do I add light at the back? I'll just put a hole in the roof so the light comes through to the back to make it more interesting. This is a general rule for all builds, not just interior builds, but keep in mind of your color scheme. So from the toolbox, I just somehow gathered a color scheme of whites, golds, and blue and white. So golds, or yellow, and blue, those are kind of like the accent colors for this build. And yellows and blues are like complementary colors, so they would work well together. So I had yellow and blues for my builds, which are complementary. So I kept in mind essentially color theory when choosing my color scheme. So that's something to keep in mind when making your interior builds. All these little details and decorations, like the ones I'm putting on top of the counter, are all found from the toolbox. You just have to keep searching for them. And again, just following the technique of just keeping the parts that you do like and just getting rid of the rest when you're opening up a model from the toolbox. And keeping the parts that you do like are the ones that are just realistic or just that looks good. And just find them and put them in your build. That's it. Alright, now that you have your build completed, we're gonna have to add the ambient occlusions within the interior. So you can see there's sort of an ambient occlusion, meaning like there's a shadow of this couch here, but we're just gonna darken it even more since Roblox Studio doesn't really give us the option to do that. So we're just gonna add it ourselves. And in order to do that, it's basically just adding decals underneath of like a shadow, and that's basically it. So let's go to the toolbox and go to decals. So look for the shadow of the couch. We're gonna just look up square and try to get like a blurred square. And this one's perfect. White is better than having it be black because since it's white, I can change it to any color. If it were to be black, I wouldn't be able to change it to any other color. So getting it white is good. So what I mean by this is if you have like a certain lighting, like let's say like your lighting scenario is sunset. So you want to make your shadows a little yellow, but dark. So you can change it to whatever color you want. And that's only because it's white. If it was black, you wouldn't get it to that dark orange. But for me, since it's not really sunset, I'm just going to make it pretty black. Now we just take this, but make the part transparent, and just take this and put it underneath the object. And then there you go. You can of course lower the transparency if you think it's too harsh. And this is basically a technique that I've learned when making interiors. And basically Roblox just doesn't really do the ambient occlusions really well. So you have to take it into your own hands and just add them yourself. So doing this for every other object will make your interior builds look much more realistic and make it look like that's not in Roblox, because the Roblox engine can even get shadows like this. So you're just faking the shadows to get something really nice, hence making it look not like Roblox. So I'm going to continue doing this for every other object in this room. And this object is circular, so obviously I can't put like a square shadow underneath it. So what I'm going to do is get a circular like blur instead of a square. So just look up circle. I'm just gonna write glow so I can get it blurred. So like something like that is fine. Let's get it here. And also here's the tip. I'm gonna do the shadow for this as well, but just remember anything that's further away will obviously be lighter. So we're gonna make the transparency of this very high because this, again, the object is further away. So the closer the object, the more harsh and lower the transparency it is. But since this is like high up here and I'm doing the shadow of this, we're gonna make the transparency high and light. Oh, you also got to keep in mind where your sun is at. So my sun's over here, so that means my shadow should be offset. So like since my light is there, the shadow should be like over here, pushed off to the side, since again my light's coming from here. So like here's an example. Here's how it looks like with the added fake ambient occlusion shadows, and here's it off. It's a subtle difference that makes it much more realistic when it comes to the lighting. But yeah, adding this touch makes your build so much nicer. To add some extra detail, you can add little shadows like this, where this is basically the shadow of this line, and adding this adds to the realism. So basically, you see the shape right here. I try to make the shadow of that on the ground right here. But you have to be like artistic, I guess, when it comes to making these custom shadows. So like you have to understand how the shadows would work for something like this. And hopefully I did it right here. You can see this is actually a fake shadow that I put of this using the decals. And adding that again adds to the realism. Now here's an example of wanting to add a custom shadow. So like I want to do a shadow of this ring, but I have a circle. I don't have a ring. So let's make a custom shadow. Let's go to Photopea and make our shadow. So first I'm just going to make the background all black so I can see it. And then we're going to add a new layer. And we're just going to go to the, since I'm wanting ring, I'm going to get the circle tool. Change it to white. So basically you're just making your shadow shape in white first. So here I have a circle, but I wanted a ring. So since I want a ring, what I'm going to just do is make this circle smaller, select it, and then just cut a hole within the circle. So here's how you do it. Duplicate the circle, size it down to the part where you want to cut the circle, right click it, click select pixels, then select the bigger circle, and then just delete. And now I have my ring. Again, you don't have to make a ring. Maybe you want something else, but I'm just telling you, if you want your custom shadow, just make it in white first. And then I'm going to size it down so it's not touching the edges. Then select your custom shadow shape, go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And then the amount you want it to be soft, you can just increase it. I'm going to make mine just about 11. Press OK. And then make sure you hide the black. So just get rid of it. Now you want a transparent background. Now that you have a transparent background and you have your custom shadow in white, just save it. Click File, Export as in PNG. Go back to Roblox Studio, and then just duplicate one of your shadows, open its decal in Properties, and just change this texture to the one we saved in Photopea. So I have my ring. I'm going to upload it into my decal, and there's my ring. Now I can use this as a shadow for this ring underneath. And again, remember everything, offset it, so the light's coming from there, the shadow will be offsetted like over here. And maybe stretched, if I wanted to make it more interesting, just stretch it out. And there you go, there's like my custom shadow, both for the actual table over here and then the ring. And then again, if I want extra detail, I can do for these long parts. But you have to understand how shadows work. So I'm pretty sure these long parts, since they're connected to the ring, I'm going to make it so it connects to the ring of the shadow as well. So like for this, I'm going to make it connect to the shadow. I'm not going to make this go all the way out here because that does not make sense. At least I don't think. Again, here's another example. This one's most apparent that there should be a shadow of the table, but there isn't because for some reason Roblox doesn't do that. So I added my own shadows and it's so much better. If you're confused on how to offset your shadows, basically you just want it to be facing away from the light. So here's an example. There's a light here and my table's here. So the light's here, so it's going to be pushing away from the light. Same with this one, I'm pushing away from the light and pushing away. But you only do that a little bit. So you can see over here, it's pushed away to the side over here, down, and then to the left here. So that's how you should offset your shadows. One thing that could happen is the shadows are clipping with each other. So if you see here, when I look left and right, the light, this part is going through the shadow sometimes. In order to fix that is just make them, instead of a decal, you put it within a surface UI and within a image label. So instead of this, you use an image label that's within the surface UI. And then it should be fixed. If not, go to surface UI properties and then just increase the Z offset to something higher, and it should always be on top. The Z offset is basically like the layer number. So a higher number would be the higher layer and a lower number would be a lower layer. Also, any corners or edges, you would also put like a gradient shadow So like that, that's something that you would want. So it's dark in the corner, and then as it's going out, it gets softer. So I'm gonna apply that to every corner and edge of the walls. Here's the difference between without and with. You can see the whole room just changes. It's like adding a custom shaders to your game. And this is also visible if you're putting in the lowest graphics, so that's a plus. Now with custom shadows, you can also do custom lights. So like I can put the light right there, or the shadow. This is basically a shadow, but I just, instead of black, I made it a light yellowish color. So you can put that right on your lights, and there you go. This is really useful if you want to make your scene look foggy. Putting these custom shadows is perfect for that. But this isn't really foggy, but I'm going to add it anyways because I think it looks nice. You can also just duplicate it, make it thinner, drag this out if you want to add like a lens flare to it. But I don't want that, I just want it like this. And again, lens flare is like perfect for like dark. If it was dark, then a lens flare would be cool. But yeah, I'm not going to add that. You can see the difference it's doing. I added custom light, the custom shadows, and it just makes so much better. That's pretty much it. You can see I'm just going to be turning it off and on so you can see the difference. The build already by itself looks good, but adding this makes it so much better. Now just do your typical lighting setting changes. Most people think the lighting settings is what really makes your games realistic. Sure, it can be, but it's more about the assets, if it's good enough and realistic enough, and how you place your objects and lighting in like the shadows and actual light part sense. And then that is it. This is the final build. Also, if you're wondering what I changed and added, I just added the new sky and added volumetric lighting, and then just tweaked the lighting settings. I literally just gave away the secret in making interior builds look nice in this tutorial. So please subscribe, or at least leave a like. Comment if you have any questions and I'll try to respond. And that's it. Bye.